Does CJC-1295 cause weight loss? Well, this is a great question, and I recently had a patient that sent me an Instagram video, and he's like, this guy says it's the holy grail of shredding your belly fat. And granted, there was some interesting things in this 3-minute Instagram video, but the claims were just a little bit outrageous. And so in this video, I'll deconstruct how it may help with weight loss. I'll tell you, you probably already know, I've seen other peptides just magnitudes greater at weight loss if that's your primary goal. But I'll also share with you some of the other benefits of CJC that I think are pretty phenomenal. And we'll also talk about the risks, because this is not a peptide that you just want to start injecting into your body without medical supervision. So nothing I say on this channel is medical advice. You're not a patient of ours. You're not a client. If you do want to learn more, go to agelessfuture.com, get a health span assessment, and get a physician-led peptide protocol. Work with one of my team members. Okay, so CJC, does it help with weight loss? Well, first of all, it's a growth hormone releasing peptide. You would not want to use CJC-1295 alone. You want to stack it with another growth hormone releasing peptide called Ipamorelin. Ipamorelin, it works on the ghrelin pathway, that pathway that makes you hungry. Growth hormone increases your hunger. And so what Ipamorelin does is it helps stabilize hunger. So it may actually make you gain weight. If you take CJC-1295 alone, you may get so hungry you just can't help yourself. Not that I've ever done that. I love food, and so Ipamorelin just blunts that hunger, but Ipamorelin also helps increase that growth hormone pulse by a magnitude of 5 to 7 times greater. In fact, in one of the studies, they found that people who used CJC-1295 with Ipamorelin had a 10 times greater pulse of growth hormone. Now, the thing that you want is a pulse. The reason you don't want to use a DAC or a drug affinity complex is because you lose the pulse. You just have a longer lasting growth hormone. That's one of the reasons why taking exogenous growth hormone in and of itself can be dangerous. You can end up with organ overgrowth, and it doesn't end well. In many cases, the hormone is too long lasting, whereas something like CJC-1295, Ipamorelin, especially Testosterone, is going to give you pulses where your body can return to its circadian rhythm. One of the hormones is called somatostatin. Somatostatin is what stops growth hormone from being released. So once growth hormone's out, then somatostatin comes and brings it down. Otherwise, your body does not want to be in continual growth all the time. And I know you bodybuilders, you're like, but Regan, that's the bad. I want to get all swolled up. Like my son's friends, both of my boys and their friends are like, we don't want to take any breaks, but you need the breaks. You need to let your body go through its rhythms. And so CJC, does it help with weight loss? Absolutely. It can be very active on fat burning. One of the things in the literature is because it's a growth hormone releasing analog, when you have higher levels of growth hormone, your basal metabolic rate also is higher. So you're going to burn more fat. And what you'll find is usually that triggers in about 3 to 6 weeks is where you start noticing a big difference. It helps preserve muscle. Muscle mass is one of the best ways you can permanently lose fat because muscle creates more energy expenditure. Therefore, it allows you to hold on to muscle mass better. You can also pair it with other peptides. And then effective dosing with CJC is done where you're going 5 days on, ideally take it at night before bed in a fasted state, 90 minutes after you eat. Otherwise, if insulin or your glucose is present, you're just like basically throwing your growth hormone peptides into this grinder. It's not going to give you the same benefits. So make sure that you've got stable blood sugar. CJC-1295 does not seem to increase what's called prolactin or cortisol. If these hormones are increased, that can cause a lot of disruptions in your body. Once again, there are some studies that show that growth hormone may actually trigger some dysregulation in cortisol, blood sugar, and prolactin. So, and I know many of you are going to comment like, I love human growth hormone. It saved my life. And I think it's a phenomenal treatment in the right application, cycled at the right time. I think for a longevity pursuit, IGF-1 is the #1 marker, in my opinion. If all the other inflammatory markers are down and you've got IGF-1 in a sweet spot, not too high, because that can be problematic, but if you can keep it in the optimal range, it's one area where you just feel so good. So, I want to align health span with lifespan. And the great thing about CJC-1295 is it does that. The other way that it helps you burn fat is if you add the Ipamorelin. Remember, I mentioned that in the beginning. But the other thing that you want to do is you want to consider some type of mitochondrial peptide. SLOOP332, which is technically a small molecule, but it is amino acid structures that are synthesized to act on the ERR alpha pathway, or the estrogen-related receptor alpha pathway. You're going to see an even greater level of mitochondrial energy. You'll see your basal metabolic rate go up even more. And then if you're looking at, oh, how can I recover? Because losing weight, the best way to do it is to sit on your couch, eat a lot of Cheetos, Doritos, drink plenty of soda, like Coke is really good. Alcohol is a great way to, okay, I'm joking. Those are all the things you want to get rid of. Get rid of the sedentary lifestyle, raise your standards. You know, what does health mean to you? And what do you really want to accomplish when it comes to weight loss? You want to be fit. You want to change your body composition. Well, CJC-1295 is amazing. Stack it with Ipamorelin. You want to add in the mitochondrial benefits so you have better cardiovascular health, get some NAD, some glutathione, go through a detoxification. And then the best peptides for weight loss, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, are the GLP-1s. And some people are very opposed to GLP-1s. And I can see why, because you see like the Ozempic phase, you learn about gastroparesis, which is a real thing. I'm not downplaying the side effects of like Ozempic and Mounjaro and some of these drugs. But if you do the GLP-1s in the right way, smaller dose that's first governed by proper detoxification so that your body can handle the release of all the toxins from the fat loss, and then adding in exercise, it can be a game changer. So think semaglutide with CJC and Ipamorelin for if you have like propensity to just like binge eat, or if you have issues with alcohol or any other addiction. I think tirzepatide if you want more of a smoother transmission, GLP-1 and a GIP. And then my favorite's retatrutide because it's got glucagon in there. So you're going to build muscle. And then that weight is yours to keep, that weight loss and the body composition. Retatrutide, a triple agonist, it's got GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon. Helps with fatty liver disease. Really important for mitochondrial biogenesis. It works on the PGC1 alpha pathway, so you just get this great expression of all these genes. And then don't forget the BPC-157 because the GLP-1s can impact the gut. But CJC and used in conjunction with the proper lifestyle, the proper fitness team, you're gonna see enormous improvements in the way you feel, in the way you look, and in the way you perform. And if you love this video and you want to go deeper, all you need to do is go to agelessfuture.com. My team would love to meet you. We'd love to have you to one of our events. But most importantly, let's figure out if this is right for you and why you're holding on to the weight. Let's ask the questions that most doctors miss. That's our job. I'm Regan Archibald. I'll see you on the next video.